Hello. Today I'm going to be interviewing Emery. How you doing, Emery?
Yeah, I'm doing pretty well.
What you been up to?
Um, well, I just finished eating some breakfast and I woke up about an hour ago and I'm just ready for the interview.
Oh, fantastic. So what are your plans for the rest of the weekend after this interview?
Um, so um, okay, so tonight I am working night shift. Um, I am I'm going to a philosophy meetup on Sunday. Um, and that'll be very interesting. And then I'm doing some typing interviews on Enneagram earlier on Sunday as well. And that's basically what my weekend's being panned out to be.
You do you conduct typing interviews, or do you are you going for someone else to interview?
I conduct typing interviews.
So
Yeah.
you are an Enneagram professional.
Um, I would say more in training, but
Okay.
that is the goal. That's the goal.
Oh, that's amazing. Fantastic. Who do you do it under?
So right now I'm not doing it under anyone. This is like basically you have to get a certain amount of time in order to be able to become an Enneagram professional. So I'm trying to get hours and experience in order to iron out, because practice and theory are often very different creatures.
Yeah, no, absolutely. No, you need to build up a lot of practice before you can be good at typing people, at least in socionics. I imagine Enneagram is similar in that
Yeah,
regard.
they're very similar in that regard.
And you also are attending philosophy meetup. What got you into philosophy?
Well, I like the idea of the one of the biggest things that interests me about philosophy is being able to create rules to solve the problems of our everyday life. So it's like if you follow this format, you might be able to improve or enlighten your life in some way. Um, Obviously not every philosophy is great, but just investigating what might work and what doesn't, it's always interesting to talk about.
Okay. And who are your favorite philosophers and why?
Hmm. I I would go with I do like the idea right now. The one I'm really looking into, they're talking about this a lot of philosophy group, is Stoicism. The idea of being able to get to some type of realist point about how events in life actually play out. I find that very nice.
So
Um,
what's that called again? I missed that.
Stoicism.
Stoicism.
Yeah, Stoicism.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah,
Stoicism. Okay.
yeah, yeah. It's
And
very, very common.
yeah. And what about Stoicism attracted you?
So, basically, it was talking about how you need to be. This thing about Stoicism is that you need to be able to be prepared emotionally, and requires a lot of emotional self-control. So it's like one of the methods recommended Stoicism is to imagine the things you have, and like, since life is very chaotic, basically it's just embracing the chaos of life and understanding that everything you have could not be there tomorrow, and you just need to be appreciative of that, and also be ready to move on if something is to happen. Yeah, so in some ways it's very dark, but I think it's very realistic.
Okay, no, fair enough. And are you someone who has needed help in emotional control?
Um, Sometimes I find that if I have a bad day, usually I am stuck in that mood unless I try and find something to change it otherwise. Um, yeah, I wouldn't say I'm a very, like, as far as my range of emotions, I would call them like extremely colorful. But it's if I do get irritated, I do stay irritated.
Okay, fair enough. And hmm, and you say that you're attending a work shift. What are you working in?
So right now I'm just working. Is I'm working. Well, I'm about to get a second job. I'm just working whatever job I can get. I am studying in college right now, and I work at an event center. And basically what I do is I just coordinate parking and where like important people should park and that sort of thing. Because when you have events of several thousand people, it's important to coordinate.
Okay. Oh, hi, Winston's mum. went to his mum, said hello.
Oh.
Yes. Okay. So, gotcha. So you're studying at the moment. What are you studying?
So right now I'm aiming for, obviously this is subject to change to some extent because I'm still working on my bachelor's, but I'm working towards getting master's in therapy practice, ideally. Yeah. Um, I also this I'm also thinking about, I really would like to be able to socionics related, but I would like to study cognitive science as well.
Okay.
So yeah, I was thinking about possibly getting a doctorate in the far future. Yeah.
Okay. Very good. And what attracted you to therapy?
It's the way that you can help people understand themselves and help them self-reflect and improve. I like helping, the idea of helping people be able to I know, become happier and become more self-aware. And that those are both things that very attract me a lot to therapy, being able to help other people. And I like to be able to use my skills at being able to like decipher information and that sort of thing, to be able to apply that to other people and learn about them. It's also very interesting to learn about people.
I see. And what made you want to help people in terms of making them more self-aware? What led you on that path?
Well, so I to some of it I've always naturally felt inclined.
Okay.
And other parts is like I I have an experience, like I've struggled in my life before, so it's always you know, I wish someone was able to do that for me. I would like to be able to do that for other people.
Okay, that makes sense. Are you okay talking about some of your struggles in life before?
Yeah, sure. So one of the biggest things is I used to be very skeptical and anxious about surrounding social activity when I was like 18 or 19. Yeah, and basically I would, even though there was no real evidence, I would just automatically assume that people like alienated me because they wouldn't talk to me. It wasn't because they were talking; it was just because I was a pretty quiet person. That was like in hindsight. But yeah, I associated that with myself. And that was I think that was one of the biggest problems, to be able to work through that social anxiety and assumptions.
How did you push through that?
Well, part of it's sheer force of will. Like being able to make myself just go push through it. And then just like, because like people, like if you get told, I was told like it's like logically I knew it probably wasn't as bad as I thought it was. So it's like, okay, I'm just gonna push through and see what happens. And that was one of the biggest things, that leap of faith. Another part of it is just I talking to the counselor or a therapist at the time. I would just dispelling some of the thoughts I had. A lot of the way I work against anxiety is just thinking about if things logically make sense, as far as like other people and myself.
Okay. So, okay, that makes sense. And does this, are you still anxious about people accepting you?
Not really anymore. I think it definitely touches on at times, but it's not really a thing anymore. It's been I guess if I was put on percentage, like it used to be like 100% back then. Now percentage like 5, or it's much diminished, almost non-existent.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, fair enough. What situations do you find yourself at your most confident?
I find myself most confident whenever there's I think practicing. I'm pretty confident whenever it comes to like practicing some sort of science or theory. I feel like I'm very great at being able to comprehend them. So like for example, like physics or math, they both come very naturally to me. So I'd be able to do both of those very easily. And I usually like coach people, not on sometimes it's not on purpose, but it just comes naturally to me. And then like an organization at work, like let's say we have basically we need to set a system where people cooperate. So basically I say, okay, well, you're going to stay here. You're going to do this part. We'll all do that, these other various parts. And this is how it'll work. And we won't have to do much more effort because we've all been able to have our set position and do our job. That's crucial. Yeah, that, or like, yeah, also like with practicing Enneagram sociologics theory, I feel like I'm pretty great at being able to grasp the logical axioms of that and, operate off of them. So, yeah.
Okay. So can you give me an example of when you were able to divide up labor like that?
Yeah. So I'll give an example on a Discord server. Usually I would be the person that says we need to organize this system in order to be able. So let's say we have new members coming in and we want to vet them, right? So basically, I propose that. Yeah. So basically, you would get people to set up like they would come in and then they would put some information. So like you ask them some questions, that process for vetting, and then there would be people that would verify that, and then you would also need people on the server to vet and moderate the server as well. And it basically is like these sorts of systems where you're able to just make a process much more smooth. I think that's important.
Okay. Is your environment which you live in, is that often smooth?
Yes, it is very smooth, I would say. I live in a house with SEI and SOI. Yeah, but basically, I usually prefer environments that are somewhat quiet and relaxing. I definitely can I definitely can have like fun, like being much more loud and such, but it's more of a momentary thing, not a permanent thing.
Okay, fair enough. What would you say is your ideal social environment?
I'm not sure if I have an idea. So like, okay, basically, I would like a place to be able to output, just talk about intellectual theory and like the premises and the legitimacy of it. That's or philosophy is also related to that. But I would also like an environment where I'm able to like just let ourselves go and enjoy each other and just basically just relax a little bit as well. It's like kind of like a mix of the two.
Okay, fair enough. And when it comes to environments which you find less enjoyable, what are environments like that for you?
Well, I think when people are really I don't enjoy very abrasive people.
Okay.
And I basically it's like I've run across these environments in real life before where you have people that lack a better word just shit on each other all the time. Yeah, and I mean, it's fun that it's great. It's fun to jest. Like jesting's fine, but it's just some point where I feel like there's a line, and people often do pass it. In some social groups, and yeah, that's just not how I enjoy just going around doing things.
That makes sense. And okay, so we talked a little bit about you feeling unconfident when it comes to people accepting you in certain groups, something you experienced when you were younger. What other situations do you find bring you a lack of confidence?
So, I think let me think about those. To some extent, I feel like a lack of confidence I have is being able to identify bad people for me. Yeah, because it's all for me is always like a very nuanced thing. It's like I have a hard time realizing when people aren't that great for me, and that's something I'm improving on as we like every day. And yeah, it's and like things that another thing is people often ask me like what my favorite things are. And I'm not that great at that either. I would like like let's say someone asks like what's your favorite movie, like what's your favorite song, what's your favorite artist, like I don't know any of these things. Have a premise and like seeing validity in a lot of different movies, and it's really hard to pick a choice.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's fine. Could you give an example of where you've been able to work out that you don't like someone?
So well, basically when they're it kind of relates to the example of the social group in the way that it's these very abrupt, abrasive people for no reason, or when someone is acts very inconsistently, and it really gets my skepticism rising on the intentions of their behavior.
Yeah.
I think those are the two main things that I realize people are bad. Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense. Okay, and so where do you see yourself in 10 years' time?
Well, I see myself I see myself being able to I would like to be able to be ideally teaching at a university. I would like to be able to work part-time at therapy practice, and I think it obviously depends on variables, but I would like to be able to spread some sort of science to other people, like through a book, for example. But I can't really say I'll be writing a book, because who knows what I'll actually find. But that would be ideal.
Okay, so you want to spread a science, some sort of understanding.
Yes.
But you say you don't yet have that understanding crystallized.
Well, I am to some extent spreading I actually, not to say this will be an Enneagram in 10 years, because I don't know if it will be, but I was planning, I'm working on a YouTube channel right now describing the various Enneagrams and the nuances between them, because I think it's very important to realize this sort of thing. And so I do often have some type of crystallized structure. It's just that the crystallized structure in the field that I'm studying in, I don't feel like I have enough knowledge for yet.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. No, fair enough. Do you know where to go for that knowledge?
I have some good ideas, but nothing. I don't think I have any for sure leads yet. So okay. Yeah.
Okay. So when you have an idea of what you want to do, how do you go towards doing it?
So usually I think about, so here's how my thought process is. If I need to go do something, first I'll think, okay, what are some alternatives that might make my task easier? And then second of all, I just go like, what do I need to do in order to accomplish this task? So I'll create some kind of like set order or set list of things that I need to do within my head. And like, what do I need to do to be able to like maximize my chances at being able to accomplish whatever I need to accomplish? And yeah.
Okay, so you know what we need to do, then you're just thinking out how then to do it well.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay. What happens if there's something you need to do, you need to do it quickly?
I think it depends. Sometimes there are times where, especially when I'm not familiar with what I need to do, like familiar as in like I don't really know how to go about the activity necessarily. If I need to do it quickly, I'll be kind of like goldfish in a fishbowl a little bit. But but there are times like if I have a decent amount of experience, I'll be very immediate with how I need to react. So I think a lot of it depends on like my experience with the activity, how much I know about it.
Okay. And how do you handle abrasive people?
It kind of depends. I think like generally I usually feel like there's some sense of they're not treating people properly. So I might confront them a little bit about it. Like for example, I have a friend that is like being very abrasive towards some of my friends. I'm like I was saying like that's not really fair to everyone else because everyone else does the same things and you're just making them feel bad for really no reason other than just because you feel like it. Yeah, and yeah, so to me it just seems very naturally unfair. So I do confront those types of people sometimes. Sometimes there's people who are abrasive but not abrasive enough to be an annoyance or issue. I think it really depends how much they upset the environment.
Okay. How many guitars are behind you?
4.
Are they all yours?
Yes, they are. Two of them have been given to me, and the other 2 have been bought.
Okay. And are you a musician?
I would consider myself a hobbyist. But I do play guitar. Yes.
Okay. And what made you want to go into playing guitar?
Well, so basically, it was always something that I thought was a nice way to be able to express myself. So it's like if I'm feeling something, I would be able to express it on the guitar to some extent. I also like the idea of being able to. One of the big reasons I like to be able the synchronicity of being able to play in some sort of band or group. That idea very fascinates me, and like being able to be at sync musically with people around you. And yeah, I think those are the 2 biggest reasons.
Okay. What do you like about synchronicity?
I don't really know. I've always been just kind of fascinated with that synchronicity because it's just kind of like a perfect way of which things are able to play out. And I always consider myself a little bit a perfectionist, but in more of a subtle sense because I don't always try and practice it. And I think synchronicity is some sort of perfection.
Okay. So how do you act out your perfectionism?
In music or in general?
No, in general.
Okay. So usually it's I try to act out my perfectionism by being able to work over what I can control. I know people don't really like being controlled too much. Though I will, if I feel like it impedes the process, I will definitely talk to them about it. But basically, I would, let's say I'm at work and I want to maximize the workflow or the convenience for me. So I would place, there's items I need to place in order to control traffic flow. I would place items at just the right position so that people can see it and it would have just the right angle so that they don't drive too fast and all that sort of thing. I would just make sure the control over what I have is as great as possible.
Okay. Makes sense. So what are criticisms which people you know might have of you?
Well, I think to some extent, what the criticisms people might have of me is that I don't think I don't know if this would be a criticism, but I do feel like people don't feel like I'm expressive enough sometimes in real life.
Okay.
Yeah. Another criticism might be like I think this is might be of a past thing. Not really. This is a thing of the past. But in the past, I used to be criticized for like not being assertive enough to an extent. But ever since like the social anxiety thing has went away, it hasn't really been a problem anymore. But yeah, it used to be.
Could you first tell me a little bit more about not being expressive enough?
Well, it's usually just that I don't usually feel I just don't feel safe around expressing myself around other people sometimes. So I usually am not that expressive. It's just let's say I can be very outwardly cold at times. I would describe it as. Yeah, like just not just very deadpan type of expression.
Okay.
Yeah, so I do try and like play it up a little bit, but there are times where I'm just not in the mood.
Yeah, fair enough. And is that due to a lack of emotion on your part?
To some extent, I would say yes.
Okay. And would you say you find it difficult to actually feel emotions which other people are feeling?
I wouldn't say it's impossible, but it's definitely a struggle.
Okay. So how do you go about communicating to people in a way which they can understand how you're feeling?
Well, so it just takes a lot of effort to be able to do so. So sometimes maybe I'll need a little bit of alone time to reflect on it, and I think a lot of the times I'll feel something, I'll be aware of it several minutes afterwards. So it's I actually this is something that I think is a point of improvement, is expressing myself how I'm feeling to other people, because usually a lot of the time I don't have that many feelings about things. But like, yeah. Is there anything you need me to add, or I think that's
no, that's fine.
Okay.
And could you tell me a bit about how you've grown in asserting yourself?
So basically, I just so whenever you interact with people, there's always an exchange that you have, and you need to be able to communicate and try and organize some type of like, well, it depends, obviously, because a lot of time you're just talking for socialization's sake. But whenever you're talking to someone on like business meetings, you need to be able to leeway and get something out of them if you're trying to have a certain objective. So basically, I would just I would assert myself just by like trying to state like, oh, let's do something for each other, or I would state like I need this from you. It's just be more direct with what I need and what just that sort of thing. It's like,
fair enough. Have you ever been in a fight?
Not really, no. Not a physical fight.
Okay. Well, have you has the opportunity never come up?
No, it hasn't. I mean, there was this one time where I headbutted a kid in 3rd grade, but that's not. Yeah.
Why'd you do that?
Well, it was for fun, for jest. I actually, well, it was partially for fun. It was partially for let me say, like, I'm trying to remember. I think the kid was being a bit annoying, and so a bunch of people were proposing like we have like a headbutt contest or something. So we did, I wouldn't describe it as malicious in a fight sort of thing.
Yeah. Okay. It was more of a playful headbutt.
Yeah, playful fight. Yes.
A playful headbutt. Okay, fair enough. And let's talk a bit about your friends.
Yeah.
So I mean, you're living with people you've typed as SLI and SEI. Who are your closest friends and why?
My closest friend. I have. So I have a few. One of them would be I have a real life friend. His name is Will. And do you want me to just talk about them?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
Why do you like him?
So I like them because he's basically he's very he's a very relaxed person, and he's very grounded. So I like the idea that he's basically he's a pretty good decision maker, and he's pretty great with people. So whenever we talk, we always talk about some type of like let's what's going on in the tech universe, or we talk about what's going on in our social circle. Him and I have a lot of the same opinions on how people should be, and it's I don't know. I'm always able to have a good laugh with him. That's something I really appreciate. And he's always someone like that I feel like I can express myself to at any point, and him to me. So that's really nice.
So would you say you need certain people to express yourself to?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. So you wouldn't express yourself just to anyone?
No.
Okay. And how are you at day-to-day stuff?
I think I'm pretty all right at it. Like day to day, as in like just like the daily humdrum of life.
Yeah.
I think I'm pretty all right at it. It's just what I do, what I need to do. If I need to make some type of schedule, I'll make it. I wouldn't say I'm like amazing. I think there's sometimes that I do like make faults in judgment, but like I think I'm pretty good at it.
Okay. Would you say that remembering specific details about people, say people you've met, is that something which often evades you?
Sometimes, yes. I would like there'll be things I'll forget. It's definitely a concentration effort for me to remember things about people.
Okay.
Yeah.
And how does that compare to, say, dealing with very intense or emotional surroundings?
I think I am better at remembering those things with people than dealing with intense emotional surroundings. That's
okay.
Yeah.
Okay. No, fair enough. Okay, fine. That sounds good. So are you close with family?
Somewhat. I mean, I wouldn't say it's super close, but like, you know, I do like I do care about I do care about my parents. I have a brother and a sister, and they're both younger than me. And yeah, I don't I would not say I'm like really big on family, but I do appreciate them.
Okay. And what would you say you are biggest on?
It's a good question. I think I'm biggest on being able to to some extent, I think I'm biggest on being able to help the things that I'm talking about as far as like the YouTube channel and like practicing Enneagram and like going to college for therapy and cognitive science. And I think those are the things I'm biggest on. I'm also pretty big on being able to have like a healthy, satisfying life. And satisfying for me is just being able to, I don't know, just be able to enjoy whatever life holds.
Okay, that makes sense. What would you say is your greatest fear in life?
I would say being unable to being injured to the point where I'm not able to take care of myself by myself anymore. Like losing that sense of being able to give myself my own independence, I think. And like, yeah.
Could you tell me a bit more about independence?
So I think independence is important because basically you need to be able to organize yourself, and if you're not able to I feel like if you're not able to be independent, then it's really hard to be able to push your own agenda and be able to do things that you need to do. So that's why I find it very important. It's like how am I going to be able to do all the things I like to do if I can't even be independent? I know obviously that there is, like, you could definitely be dependent on other people and be able to do these things, but that's just the natural way my mind goes.
Okay. So what are all the things you want to do?
So I would like to be able to do you want me to go with ideally? Yeah, okay. So ideally I'd be able to travel, explore several different countries, and find out the cultures and the various nuances of how the countries are. I like to be able to write books and be able to talk about how people can improve themselves and be able to organize their lives in order to be more fulfilling for themselves. I'd like to be able to find some type of discovery and finally be able to empirically verify a cognitive model. I would like to be able to have a loving wife and be able to share a lot of what I care about with her. I think those are the biggest things.
Okay, thank you. And do you spend a lot of time in your head?
I would say so, yes.
Okay. Why?
I don't know. It's just natural. It's just I'm thinking about. I often spend a lot of time just reflecting and thinking about various things that I like in my past experiences with people, or reflecting on issues with society, or like why a conflict might have happened, or reflecting on aspects of theory. So sometimes look at sometimes like, oh, well, why don't we think about it this way? And that sort of thing. And yeah, it's just something that my mind naturally drifts to.
Okay, fair enough. And how often are you just in the moment?
I'd say it's definitely an effort for me. I've definitely learned how to do that. But I know it, like the idea of focus, being able to look directly at like the objects that I'm moving and like focusing directly on the task at hand. I think that I do it like frequently, but it's not my norm.
No, fair enough. I think those are all the questions I need to ask. Let's see if anyone else has any questions, just to see. I asked one from Winston's mum already about the guitars. Let's see. Any more here? What would you do with 6 red solo cups?
Okay. Well, I could stack them. I could I could cut them up and use them as materials for, like, the first thing that comes to mind is some type of launching mechanism. You could use one of the red solo cuffs, the holder. Another thing that you could do with the red solo cuffs is maybe use it to hold something up. You could use it I guess you could use it as decoration, but it'd be very odd decoration. It wouldn't work in my room.
Okay.
I probably come up with more, but yeah.
Yeah, fair enough. Let's see. Do you meditate?
I do on occasion, yes.
Okay.
I meditate to be able to. Well, actually, I guess it's just for the standard purpose of meditation. So.
Okay. Anything else here? No, I think that. Do you fancy a bit of the esoterica or the arcane?
Not really. No.
Okay. No worries. Right. I think those are all questions then. You'll know what I think then.
Yeah.
Now, I imagine you probably already have a reasonably good idea of what your type is. Although it makes me wonder, maybe one question, why did you approach me for a typing?
So part of it was so you're usually not very involved in communities that I'm involved in. So you have a lot more of a objective look at me compared to other people. And another reason is I just wanted to do it for the sake of it. I thought it would be fun to have a little bit of interview with you.
A good milestone.
I think those are the two biggest reasons. It's always I know my type has been debated by some people, not debated by others. So I know it would also be entertaining for them to watch.
Fair enough. That makes sense. Well, I think LII.
Okay.
And I imagine you thought you were LII as well.
Yeah. Why is that?
Okay, so I think alpha in T-alpha research was pretty reasonable. Okay. The only other quad you could be was some sort of delta, but I think although there was never some helping people and helping to improve, it was more about self-reflection, and it was more about utilizing the theory rather than the practicality for the sake of a practicality. And what you want to be is in almost an academic environment where you can spread, in your own words, the theory through a book or some other means, not necessarily directly evangelizing, but writing it down and having the understanding and the agreement and belief in the theory spread. So that already is looking far more alpha to me than delta, but that even looks a bit delta, so it takes it a bit away from beta as well. And quite clear, intuition and logic are the stronger elements. Of course, you're far more in your head than in the moment. You have a bit more difficulty recognizing emotions and the sort of personal subjective aspects. You're far more confident in the objective elements.
Okay.
Within that, so LII, LII, was a question of trying to tell those apart. Now, because some people in the chat are thinking, oh, he sounds like an ILE. There's some good use of extrovert sensation there. I think, well, I'm not sure. It's sort of like very basic stuff and stuff you sort of had to try and teach yourself to do well in. Plus, in the Enneagram, you're going to be thinking of things in terms of how you're going to develop. So, don't just take that necessarily at face value. And at the end of the day, even if you've seen these things which you in the past you've struggled with, you felt you managed to get a handle on, you still have, on balance, a better confidence in sort of the details about people you've met, and there is more of a need for you to actually know someone closely before you can express something with them, which is that introvert ethics is being considered there proactively rather than just being forced to having to sort of deal in the moment with it. Now, I don't know exactly how confident and capable you have been in extroverted sensation and extroverted ethics, but the fact that introvert ethics was speaking for itself.
Okay.
So yeah, and also there's quite a bit of introverted sensation showing up as quite a good motivator. That seeking out a synchronicity, creating ideal, calm environments, complaining when the environment was too abrasive and too rough, and being quite susceptible to that rather than sort of taking it on your shoulders.
Yeah.
And I think that shows that's in more of a pronounced position than extroverted ethics. Whereas extroverted ethics, yes, it's something that you brought up as being something which you had struggled with in the past. You managed to get over the anxiety of a situation. Doesn't necessarily mean you actually reached a point where you're actually trying to actively influence the crowds of your emotionality.
Yes.
So yeah, overall, I think from that, introvert sensation is in a more prime position than extroverted ethics, which is the chief way of telling apart an LII and an ILE. There was some extroverted logic there in a strong position, but I don't think you go into that too much, except when asked to, required to, some of the good examples. And you do, as I say, naturally spend a lot of time in your head thinking things through. And when I asked you about moving towards action, you just told me more about how you think about going about doing it.
Yes.
So again, extroversion sensation was harder to get out, and intuition knows quite a bit of that. So this is why I think overall LII works.
Okay.
And plenty of extrovert intuition also there, I should say. Plenty of speculating on where you want to go, not wanting to narrow and decide on something that limits those possibilities in terms of what you like or don't like. So yeah, LIM makes a lot more sense to me.
Okay. All right. I mean that's all I got really. I appreciate you typing me quite a bit. Yeah.
Hey, you paid money for it. It's fine.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Well, thank you very much, Amy. Do you have any questions for me?
No, I don't think I do.
That's fine. Basically, you got 14 minutes if you come with anything else, because that could be anything that comes to your head. You got that hour, so you don't have to use it. If you don't want to. You can message me later if you prefer, but that's fine.
Okay. I guess I could talk about in what ways do you differentiate between ILE and LI as far as strengths of introverted thinking and extrovert intuition? Like, what are the ways that you usually see that difference coalescence of?
It's difficult. It's a lot harder and trickier than looking at the super id. But what I would say is, what is the prime motivator, and what is flavoring that prime motivator? So I think with ILEs, the main thing is they cannot help but go into whatever is taking up their interest and exploring one interest to the other. And the introverted logic comes in to rapidly make sense of that information. And that's backed up naturally by extroverted logic. So very quickly taking in factual data, making sense of it in the moment, and very much taking that aside for granted, with I think extrovert intuition being the main motivator. So doing whatever feels interesting to them and being almost unable to turn off that extrovert intuition to the point where they lack that sort of sense of discipline.
Oh, yeah.
And I think that's the main thing for them. Whereas for LIIs, the main thing is the introverted logic. So trying to find a way of making sense of their environment. And yes, being very open-minded in doing that, always being open to new possibilities and how to best make sense of that environment. But I don't think that's but I think that it's the introverted logic is the main thing, the need to understand and make sense of it in a consistent way. And both can have attachments to theories, but actually work with theories. But the point is for the LII is that understanding is the main point, and the extrovert helping with that. And also the introvert intuition plays more of a role in that. They're more reflective over, is it right? Might it not be right? And how might it be different? And so far more of the sort of searching and second guessing I find with LIIs, with LEs. They're just going after, they're not necessarily sort of second guessing away from one particular model. It's more, they take whatever interests them and run at it and make sense of it as they're doing it. So I think that is probably the best way of telling apart purely from the ego block. It's not the best way to tell people apart.
I see. Okay. Yeah, that's actually really interesting to think about ILEs being pursued and what catches their interest in their extrovert intuition. Yeah, that's an interesting way to do it.
At least for me, that's why I do it. When I'm on my own, unless I've got work to do, which is more the case now, but I just, whatever takes my interest, I just jump into that quite erratically, you could say. I'm looking up this thing, more than this particular thing. I say erratic, not entirely. There's a certain linearity to it. Like if I start on one thing that's interesting, I'll then proceed along a certain line.
Yes.
To actually make sense of it. That's probably be the introverted logic. But at some point, I'll jump away from that to something else, and I feel very little ability to direct myself elsewhere from what's taking up my interest.
Yeah. you were gonna say?
No, that's fine. And do you have any other questions?
Well, they have to be completely relevant to our discussion. I was okay.
No, no.
Okay, perfect. Okay. So yeah, don't you think I believe on Brain's Journey you have typed yourself a Enneagram 7. Is that correct?
I am actually trying to have that reviewed.
Ooh.
So maybe you could help me with that. Also, my friend Kat is going to have a discussion about the Enneagram and how any socionics type could, according to her, be any Enneagram
Yeah,
type. I am very open to another typing. My reasoning for 7 was that when I was younger, I think I was far more of that sort of stereotypical ENTP-ish, wild child. Now I'm come across a lot more sober. I think it's the typical prefrontal cortex development. One grows up, you could say. But what are you thinking?
I think 7 could definitely be a possibility. I didn't have any particular type in mind. I was just gonna mention how the any pursuing whatever you're interested in does sound very 7. As far as cat passion is a rule of any socionic type, any Enneagram type. So personally, in my opinion, I think that's a pretty legitimate rule in the way that I think there are Enneagram types that might be very unlikely to be socionics types. But as a rule, we can't write them off. And that's something that like people like there's people that say that certain temperaments not clubs cannot be certain enneagrams. For example, Ben Vaseline does not think that you can be intuitive ethics type and be Enneagram 5. I'm not sure if I completely agree with that, but so
that does not seem like the right way to go to me.
I think we shouldn't limit ourselves based off of it. Yeah, maybe there could be studies done, and maybe I'm sure there are some types that are impossible, but we don't know that. So as a principle, we should be open.
I think this is probably it's another unfortunate result of Model G.
Yeah,
putting the mobilizing function all the way to the end as a launcher, you forget about it, and so IEIs suddenly can't be 5s anymore. I think that is an unfortunate development.
It's an interesting. I did watch his IEI Enneagram analysis video for fun, and there were he had 3 different Enneagrams. I think it was like a 4, a 6, and a 9. And a 1, and they were all analyzed in it. And he was trying to Enneagram analyze each of them. And like as each of the points on the Model G description, there was almost nothing. They're all talking a lot more about socionics because a lot of it's very Enneagram neutral. And that's my opinion how it should be, relatively at least.
So that's interesting because I think there's the difficulty with it is socionics deals with motivations.
Yes.
All this other stuff. Enneagram focuses a lot on fear and also, I imagine, motivations as a result of fear.
Yes.
And absolutely. So inevitably they're going to become intertwined in terms of what they're looking at.
It's not possible to follow both systems with good faith. To be blunt. And that doesn't mean that you can't use both systems. Like I'm sure you can, but you can't completely follow both systems in good faith in the way that I observe it. I think there's just too many contradictions with the way that the valued functions are supposed to work, with the way that how the Enneagram makes types vary. I do think there's people that I've talked to, and I think this is like a decent way to look at it, is that Enneagram can change the way that you emphasize function development, depending on instinct and your core. And that's an interesting way to put, let me give you an example, sexual 5s are a lot more oriented towards making themselves more like, more viable for relationships, and they're more emotionally in touch with themselves. And so they're going to be a lot more, in my opinion, they're going to be a lot more associated with introverted and extroverted ethics. So let's say we have 2 LII 5s, and one self-pres and one sexual. The LII The LI5, that's a sexual subtype, is going to be more developed in introverted ethics and extroverted ethics because of that focus through the Enneagram.
Yes. One thing I'd wonder though is instinctual stacking, is that necessarily a part of Enneagram, or is that just a separate theory that's used to tell apart?
So so instinctual stacking is meant as a subtype system. It's not all, it's wings are wings used to be a subtype system, and it is used in many places still, but basically instinctual stacking is something that Beatrice Chestnut came up with about 5 or 6 years ago, and at least along the West Coast, which is the centered around the International Enneagram Institute. That's the main subtyping system they use. But there is a lot of systems that lag behind and use wings, and wings are about 25 years old as far as subtyping systems go. And I don't like wings as much because I don't think Enneagram should be solely trait based, and that's wings are only described with traits. That
makes sense. Okay, no, fair. That's what I wondered. So if you just take Enneagram without the instinctual stackings,
yes,
would that be more coherent with socionics in its approach?
A little bit more, I would say. Okay. For sure. The more nuances you remove, the easier it will be to just by principle.
Okay, I definitely think this is something which I'd like to explore more, where the intersections are and where the contradictions are.
I actually I was thinking about doing a video on socionics and Enneagram. Maybe we'll have to talk about it sometime.
Well, if you want to do a typology crossover video, or just want to do something yourself, I'd be very happy.
I would not mind at all. I still, even though I do focus primarily on Enneagram, I still do. Socionics is always a pleasure to work with and talk about. So
wonderful. Any last questions, Emery? Anything?
I think I'm okay with leaving it 3 minutes off.
Fair enough, Emery. Have a lovely rest of your day. Thank you, everyone else, for watching. Take care now. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.